Welcome back, everybody. Just wanted to do a quick, at least I'll try to make it quick, first impressions video on the new Colt Anaconda that came out this year. I'm going to take a look at it with a Python and discuss some of the features and changes and the value of them. Is it worth it? Frankly, that's subjective. The Msrp on them is around $1,500, and on the auction sites they're running, well, sometimes at least a third over that, from 2,000 on up to, I've seen them as high as 2,600. So if you're thinking of doing that, I would recommend no, don't do that. Just be patient, get them at the box stores. Check their sites a couple times a day if you're that interested. That's how I did it, and I eventually snagged one. They're still in the low serial numbers at this point. About this one's just 100 serial numbers higher than the Python was that I got really quickly early in last year. Of course, the Python had some problems, if you'll remember. Had to send it right into the factory, but it reduced the price on it a couple $100. And but I got it for Msrp around $1,500. So is it a $1,500 gun? That's up to you if it's worth it for the Colt, but I'll show you some things that might convince you that maybe it is on the Anaconda. Maybe. Let's take a look. Alright, first of all, the Anaconda and the Python are virtually the same firearm. Same as the Cobra and the King Cobra. I'll flip my lens around here so I can watch what I'm doing. All they did was stretch the frame on a Python in order to give you the 44 Magnum chambering in it. And of course the Python came with wood grips. These are original Python grips because I just like them. They're so much better. They're thicker and have a lot more comfort in the hand. Let me zoom in just a hair here so we can have a better look at them. The thin grips, the new Ultimate grips are very thin. Of course, these are Hogue grips that they come with on the Anaconda. But I've got a set of Ultimates coming. These are Ultimate grips on a Smith & Wesson. And you can see they're quite thin, just like the Hogues. The original grips were much thicker, and I actually prefer those quite a bit. I've got a new set of Ultimates coming for the Anaconda. Of course, this is a Smith & Wesson Classic 686. It's about a $600 cheaper gun, but neither here nor there. We'll get into that in a minute. So what they do different on it, if besides just stretch the frame, the grip frame is the same. Ultimate, right on their website, states they make the grips for Colt, which I was thinking that they did when I first saw them. They're just plywood, basically, grips, or laminate if you prefer. But the ones I have ordered for the Anaconda are going to be walnut, about 6 weeks out, because they have to build them to order. But we'll see if they're the thin style. I'm sure they will be the same thing, just in plywood or walnut rather than the plywood rather. So what do they do differently on the Anaconda besides the caliber? Well, there's a few small differences. The first, they're subtle. Everything is basically the same except for the hammer. The hammer is just a bit thinner. profile looks to be about the same, but the thickness of it is actually, they thinned it down just a small amount. Not sure why they did that, but they did. The other thing is there's a step here in the trigger on the Anaconda now. That step in the trigger was also on the original Python, or Anaconda rather, and the Python had the smooth sided trigger. So that is actually a throwback to the original Anaconda, and it's correct in the difference that it gives it a slightly wider trigger. The other difference is besides the stretched frame, of course, is the ejector rod right here. It's still keyed into the firearm very nicely, but it's not like the original Anaconda. The original Anaconda was just a simple knob. Unfortunately, that was one of the guns I sold when I was selling my collection. But they've gone to a double knurled, and I like that look on this gun, where the Python just has the single. Other than that, the sights are the same. Everything else pretty much stays the same look, the same feel. So basically you're getting the same gun, but in a 44 Magnum. Now, comparing an original Anaconda and original Python to their newer counterparts, the newer Python, I think, is a lesser firearm. Having owned one, you can go back and see my videos on the original nickel-plated Python I owned, and on the original Anaconda. And the original Anaconda, probably this is at least equal to it, if not a little bit better. I would take either one, but might prefer the new one. The original Python, I think, outshines the new Python by quite a large margin. The hand finishing is not there, and in that respect, the finish on both is not nearly what the originals were. Their master polishers are long gone. That being said, the $600 cheaper Smith & Wesson, in comparison, looks like it was finished with an orbital sander, very rough and scratched up type finish. I'd call it a satin finish, except for the major amount of scratches that are in the firearm. I don't know if you can actually see them, but yeah, that's one of the big differences from a Smith to a Colt that you're going to get, is the finish on the Python and the Anaconda is considerably higher quality. The first thing I did was, of course, check the crown out on the firearm when I received it, because of the problems I had with the last one. No problems there. Everything looks good, and it's good to go. So that being said, I think the action is very smooth. This has been checked. We are obviously clear. It's easy to tell on a revolver. Now I pull the lever back because I'm not ready to scratch it yet. Colt's drag on the face of that, acting as a shield to guide it up in and scratch it up, so that's why I do that. But exceptionally smooth action on these, exceptionally smooth. Virtually the same as the Python. The Python actually feels a little bit lighter in double action. I'll see if we can't test that theory on my little spring-loaded trigger gauge. Let's take a look. Go ahead and throw it on there. First of all, the single action trigger pull on the Anaconda. See what it stops at, if I can get it lined up here. And we came out at about 5.5 pound trigger pull on that. Let me do it again, make sure I was doing that correctly. Yeah, about just a touch over 5 pounds there. Not quite 5.5 pounds, so not bad. Actually pretty good. I don't know if my scale goes high enough for the double action. Let's find out. £11 there. Let's pull it again just for curiosity's sake. Make certain that we're not touching the cylinder if we can. So, yep, still about 11 pounds on that. Just a touch over 11 pounds. So we were about just a hair over 5 pounds. And again, exactly same spot. Just a hair over 5 pounds. Double action. See if I can do it. And about 10 pounds on the double action. The double action does feel slightly smoother on this python that I had sent in to the factory. So there's a little difference in that action. I don't know if it's because of the smaller caliber. I don't know why it would be that much different. So all in all, my first impressions, yeah, this is a very fine firearm. Is it worth $1,500? That's up to you. When you can get a perfectly good Smith & Wesson out there for, well, $600 less if you pay MSRP. This originally came with the same type of grips. These are the Ultimate, as I said, the Ultimate wood grips. That I prefer wood grips, like the wood grips, mostly for looks, but so overall, didn't show you the box because it basically comes with the same accessories minus the target. Comes with hoe grips rather than the wood grips, and then the few little differences in the frame, the trigger, everything else, the thinness of the hammer. Everything else comes out pretty much the same. So yeah, there you go. You're buying an upgraded Python with the Anaconda. So, is it worth it? Yeah, being a Colt collector, I would say it is worth it. Is it worth $1,500? That's your choice. If you want to pay that extra money for the name, you are getting a nice finish on a very nice handgun. So there you go, my first quick impressions. Hopefully later on we'll do some shooting and see how it holds up. I'm sure it'll do fine. And until then, thanks for watching.